Okay. Okie dokie. And that's got a... Oh, that was weird. All right. And we're going to pop out the chat so I can see it over here. Come on. Slide that down, change it from top chat to live chat. We want that. Everything's good, and bam, there we go. Hope you folks are having a good time of day wherever it is that you live. Let's see here. Fungazi coming in right away. Good morning from lovely Washington, D.C. It was great seeing you at AdeptiCon. I'm eager to get some of those paints. Absolutely, it was good to see you as well. There was a lot of people in the booth that were having a good time with the Fanatic paints for sure. Roderick says, maybe I will actually play my Maggotkin of Nurgle I've been piecing together since 2020. Sure, I could see that. Good morning from Idaho. How is Uncle Adam? I'm doing okay. Yeah, doing okay. Howdy from St. Albans, UK, Windy, Oklahoma, Texas, Idaho Falls, Idaho. Happy Easter. Hope you and your wife have a fantastic day today. We're going over to her aunt and uncle's house, along with a bunch of other family and stuff like that. And then in the afternoon, it's going to be just moving things around at the studio because the landlord is having the windows replaced. Well, they're not being replaced. They're being refurbished. It's a historical building, so they can't replace them. They'll be taken out. The windows will be boarded up for a month or two, and then they will be, returned, refurbished. But I found out about this on Thursday, and they're coming tomorrow. So I have to basically today go and move after Easter lunch or whatever, go and move a whole bunch of furniture and stuff so they can get it, in there and stuff. They want everything 10 feet away from the windows, which is not going to happen because the room's not really big enough. So it'll be what it'll be, I guess. Kent, England. Berlin, Germany. Warm and kind of sunny. It's not warm here, nor sunny. Well, that's fine. Jonesboro, how you doing? KC. Cleveland. It's Easter. Who's watching Critters 2? Not me. Let's see here. Minis I picked up at AdeptiCon. Nice. Coastal North Carolina. New Age of Sigmar. Can't cope with the one now. Well, the new one's going to be, according to them, streamlined. So that should be good, hopefully. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. Newark, Delaware. I want to go for a bike ride, but it's looking a little too cold. I can see that. Charlotte, North Carolina. Good Easter morning to everyone. How you doing, Roan? Good afternoon from sunny central Scotland. That's a lot of fun to say. Converting a Turnip 28 elephant just now. Nice. Someone's planning on potentially running some Turnip 28 at TMX this year, so that's kind of fun too. Got some TMX news. That's neat. Let's see here. Newmarket, UK, Cincinnati. Haley, how you doing? Snello. Clearwater, Florida. Quebec, London, West Midlands. Just got back from a business trip to find that a mini supplier had sent me a back-ordered box of dwarves. I'm embarrassed to note that I don't really remember why I thought I needed dwarves. I mean, sometimes you need dwarves. I mean, it happens. Isle of Wight, how you doing? Oklahoma, Maryland. Hello from Reading, UK, Ontario, Saskatchewan. Always fun to say Saskatchewan. Wiltshire. I don't know if I pronounced that right. Sunny Sussex in the UX. That's my old job. UX, user interface. User experience. User interface and user experience, UX, UI. Anyway, that's not what you said at all. You said the UK, which is very different. Kit bashing and fiddling with kits. That's always fun. Sundered Psyche, how you doing? Getting colder Southwest Australia. Well, I mean, you guys are headed into fall, aren't you, as we head into spring. Montreal, Canada. How are the furry creatures? Rex is full of piss and vinegar this morning, as is most mornings. I don't know. They're doing fine. I don't know. There are times when I kind of feel bad for the other ones because the two new ones are so crazy. And I feel that the other ones were, if they had been asked to vote, they would have voted no. So, but as it turns out, they don't know how to vote. So, and we didn't ask, I guess. I mean, I might have asked, but they don't know how to vote. So, yeah. But generally, okay. Glad you had a good time at AdeptiCon. Yeah, it was a good time. I was very, very tired when I got home, though. Hello from St. Petersburg. Hello and happy Easter to all who celebrate. Today in Edinburgh, I'm painting ziggurats for Warcry. Ziggurats is a fun word to say as well. Morning from Uperland. How you doing? I like your glasses. Very nice frames. These are my close-up glasses. These are the ones that I wear at the computer. They are blue blockers, and also they are still progressive, but they're designed like I can't see, distance with them very well. They're only designed to kind of work within about 3 feet or so. So that's what I use. And then my normal ones are these that I generally wear. So, but thank you. Good time of day from sunny Surrey. Cat update. So far, so good. Like I said, mostly, except I still kind of feel bad that we dropped all of this drama on the new ones. But what's his name? Rex. He just before I left to go to Adepticon, he started limping, and my wife kept an eye on him. And then eventually, I think on Saturday, while I was at Adepticon, she took him to the vet. And the vet looked at him and was like, he's mostly fine. He's like, you might have pulled a muscle or done some soft tissue damage or whatever, but they didn't bother to do an x-ray. And now he's fine, jumping around like a maniac again. So whatever it was he did, he got over it. Probably from jumping around like a maniac is what happened. That'll happen. Beautiful St. Louis. How you doing? Southampton, UK. Happy Easter. Good to see you again. Absolutely. Morning from Calgary. By 1 or 2 months, they mean 6. Sure. Happy Easter, everyone. It's brisk morning at church for the flying disc. Ooh. Let's see here. What about the future for miniature painting? I'm not sure what you mean. I'm going to clean up and reorganize my painting space in my basement shop. That is the thing I need to do. Let's see here. I scrolled a lot farther ahead than I thought I did. Okay. There we go. Good afternoon from Ludwigsshafen. I probably mispronounced that. Germany. Getting some chores done before I set up the table for tomorrow's game of Demons and Sisters of Battle. Nice. Is that an Effin' Birds mug? It is. My wife bought it for me. Is Easter Monday not a holiday in the U.S.? I don't think so. No. We don't really do holidays. or vacations. Let's see here. Morning from the Gulf Coast. Good morning from Orlando. Hi from Essex. Let's see here. Afternoon. From a slightly dreary is it Norwich or is it Norwich? It's probably Norwich. Let's see. Thank you for the amazing, engaging content. Well, I try. I appreciate that. Munich, Germany. Good morning from gloomy Omaha. I was like, Ohana? No, I think that's in Hawaii. Getting ready to go out with friends this morning and then designing some supportless mech. Nice. I was working on, if you watched the video on Friday, I was working, I showed you folks like some little kind of resin mechs. And the hobby that I did get to do yesterday, I did spend cleaning up those mechs and getting off the flash and all that kind of stuff. And then literally cleaning them with a toothbrush, because poured resin, generally you want to wash it before you try priming it, because it'll still have potentially mold release on the material, on the resin, and then paint won't stick to it. So you want to, just a little, get yourself a little dish of water, throw your models in there with just a single tiny little just dab of dishwasher, or not dishwasher, like dishwashing soap. And then sort of swish it all around a bunch, and then just sort of scrub them with an old toothbrush, and then rinse them off under the sink, and then let them sit on a piece of paper towel until they're dry. And then you're all set. So I did that yesterday. And what else did I do? I think I painted some stuff too. So not much, just a little bit. Oh yeah, I started painting my Steel Rift, my second force for Steel Rift. I got a layer of blue in some spots, kind of highlight accent blue stuff that I want to do. And so that's cool. And then I'll go on to start picking out some other details and eventually throw some marine juice or over the top of it, or I'll mix up something a little bit different and go from there and see how that works out. It'll be fun. Let's see here. Munich, Germany. I think I said that. Good to see you at AdeptiCon. It's always, AdeptiCon's great. I really had a good time, as I always do. Bad Nauheim, Germany. How you doing? Let's see here. Will that game you packaged in the CDKs ever be released in an issue of Snarl? That game originally was called BattleBots. So yeah, that was way back in the day when me and my friend Peter were making games back in the early 90s. Yeah, our first game in 1992 was called BattleBots, before the TV show and the whole thing and all that kind of stuff. Probably not, because that was not created by me and Vince. That was created by me and my friend Peter. So I don't know that that's the case, that we would do that. But, never say never. It's hard to say. Greetings from Hopedale, MA. Been a 40K player, but actually very excited for 4th edition Age of Sigmar. I think it's going to be kind of cool, too. I've got, got this thing going on over here, so we can talk a little bit about some of the things and whatnot as well. But yeah, that is definitely something that, I'll be perfectly honest. I have purchased a Spearhead, which is basically like combat patrol for Age of Sigmar, which they announced at AdeptiCon that's and we were all like, they would probably be smart to do that. Although I think at the time they were called Vanguards, so they're changing the names of them all to Spearheads, I guess. Anyway, these Spearhead boxes, which are $20, $20 cheaper than combat patrols, which is interesting. I don't know. Didn't expect that, I guess. But yeah, they're $140, and then you download the free rules, kind of like you do with combat patrol, and you play and the whole thing. But the thing that's interesting about them, in my opinion, is that, and I don't know this, and I don't know if they've said this, but it would make sense to me that they would be better tuned than maybe the combat patrol ones, because the combat patrol ones were just boxes full of stuff that you could buy, and then eventually at some point before 10th edition they were like, what if we turned these into equal forces? And then they were like, yeah, but a couple of these boxes are totally not equal, and then they had to get sort of fancy. I'm wondering if they had more time and were able to make things more equal with the Spearhead detachments, so that would make some people happier. I'm not super crazy into the competitive scene or anything along those lines, so for me, I just want to play the game and have a good time. But I could see where if you took the entire box of Grey Knights and went up against my Imperial Guard, the Imperial Guard would have absolutely, literally no chance. So with them taking the, say, Grey Knights and going, you can take this stuff and this, you have to take this and this, but then you get a choice between this and this, because you can't take them both because it's too much. I get the reasoning for that. They also do that in the Custodes box as well. But so yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they're doing with these new boxes and how sort of balanced they are or whatever. I bought Cities of Sigmar from my local shop just because I wanted to paint Cities of Sigmar. Those Steel Helm guys are awesome. That weird cannon thing is awesome. The horse guys, I don't know why, but I've never been big into horse guys. I don't know, just painting horses in general has never been my jam, but whatever. I'll still do it, but I gotta be honest, I don't know if I would do a second one. Maybe. We'll see how things go. We'll see how the game plays. Maybe Slaves to Chaos. That's kind of a cool box, but also I don't know. I really like the skeleton one, Soulblight Gravelords, but that Vampire Lord is the worst model they've made in years, in my opinion. Like with the bats in his hair, like what the heck? Like stop it! God. So I'd either have to replace that model. I kicked around the idea about trying to 3D print the whole box, like just come up with proxies and then do the whole box that way. Find other cool skeletons and stuff. Looked around a little bit on my Manufactory yesterday morning. I don't know. We'll see. Either way, but that's way further down the road. I did actually start building the main HQ guy for the Cities of Sigmar. Sometime on like Wednesday night, I think I started building him. Let's see here. Did you have a chance to do a recording in the dealer hall this year? That was my favorite thing from last year. Unfortunately, no, because two reasons. Well, I was going to do a live stream from the dealer hall. That was the plan. The internet was not as good as it was last year. And also, and I think this is also related, it was so busy that I wouldn't have been able to like get, you know what I mean? Like you can't, it's very difficult to walk. It was so busy this year that I think that's what also impacted the internet, because there were so many people there with, you know, phones and whatnot and all that kind of stuff, or on the Wi-Fi. AdeptiCon this year it went up over 1,000 people. And when I say that, I don't mean, it now is hit 1,000 people. I mean, last year it was 7,000 people, and this year it hit at least 8,000 people that they know of. That's the thing about AdeptiCon too. They know how many badges they sell, but you don't need a badge to go to AdeptiCon. If you want to be in an event, if you want to take a class, if you want to do like stuff, yes, you need a badge. But if you just want to show up and walk around and buy stuff in the vendor hall and stand around in the vendor hall and be in the way in the vendor hall, you can totally do that. So yeah, they said on their Facebook that they were like, they're sure it's over 8,000, but they don't have an official number yet, and I don't know if they're going to release one or not. But oh man, it was way busier than this year than last year. So those are the two main reasons why I didn't do a walk around and talk and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes in the future, but yeah, I feel like they're going to have to find a new place, because this, like, not only was the parking insane and all that kind of stuff, but just even walking around like in the vendor hall or even just in the hallways and stuff, it was just packed. So it'll be interesting. Let's see here. Wisconsin makes more cheese than any other U.S. state. I always have heard, like, we're always known as the dairy state, but I thought California made more cheese just because they're way bigger than we are. But I could be wrong. I feel like we eat more cheese. I feel like in California they make a lot of cheese, but they're like, well, but I can't eat cheese. It's bad for your figure, and you don't look good when you're surfing. Whereas in Wisconsin, that's not a problem. You technically can. You can windsurf in Wisconsin, but that's about it. Good morning from St. Louis, Missouri. Working on a commission, repainting an 80s Ford Mustang to match my coworkers. Any advice on masking tiny details and strips for airbrushing? I saw a thing recently where did I see this? A person put down like tape, and then they were going to spray stuff over it, and then very frequently the stuff will go underneath the tape. And what they did was they put the tape down, and then I think they sprayed a layer of varnish over it, and then the stuff didn't leak underneath the tape. That might be something to take a look at. Maybe do some research on YouTube or whatever. But yeah, I don't remember what the heck channel I was watching. I was watching something. A guy was painting Eldar or Harlequin, those goofy flying things that they fly around on. And he put down like two strips of tape to make a stripe. And then he like masked off this way and masked off this way. And then he's like, if I just spray it here and then peel off the tape, you're going to see where it goes underneath. But he did this trick instead where he sprayed down varnish and then let that dry and then sprayed the stuff down. And then when he peeled it away, then it didn't do it. It makes sense, I guess, because the varnish fills in the gap between the tape and the model, and then the paint doesn't go underneath there, I guess. But yeah. Yeah. Maybe check into that. Hello from Chiba, Japan. How you doing? Rockford, Illinois. My name is John, and I haven't bought a kit since last Sunday. Well, hello, John. How you doing? Paraguay, Texas Hill Country. Going to Salute this year. Any advice for a first-time con goer? Comfortable shoes. Stay hydrated. Those are probably the two biggest ones. Going from beautiful Junction City, Wisconsin. Just got back from South Dakota goose hunt. Wow. Glad to catch the show. Any cool Age of Sigmar models that you would suggest to a painter non-player? I really like the new Cities of Sigmar stuff, honestly. Yeah, I mean, if you like that kind of thing, they do have some really cool ones. That guy that they put out that's like a convention exclusive is called the Steel Rook. He's an awesome looking model, but unfortunately he's kind of a thing you can only find at conventions. I mean, he'll be at conventions. He'll be at, oh gosh, they'll be selling him at Gen Con. They'll be selling him at Nova. They'll be selling him at a bunch of different places and stuff like that. So if you've got a friend who's going to any one of those, you could say, hey, can you get one? And that should be fine. But it's a neat model, a Steel Rook. If you look him up online, you'll probably be able to at least see pictures of him and stuff. You ask sometimes for ideas for tutorials. How about kneeling space marines? Need to have some. Have you converted? Oh, taking standing ones and turning them into kneeling ones? No, I've never done that. That sounds like a lot of work. Don't they make kneeling legs? Don't they? Waterford, Wisconsin. How you doing? There's lots of Sahara dust in the high air, so what would be a sunny spring day is kind of milky all over. Yeah, I can understand that. Good morning from Green Bay. Painting some old Hero Quest figures. Nice. Oops, everything moved again. Let's see here. Scrolling. Sorry, Rockford, Paraguay. Okay. Hello from north of Sweden. Hello from sunny Seattle. Thanks for taking the time to chat during the tanks battle. My wife says hi. Well, absolutely. Did you give me the yarn? Because my wife is very impressed by the yarn. I am. If not, still, it was nice to chat with you, and for sure. But a viewer gave me yarn that his wife had dyed in the colors of the logo up here, and that was very, very nice. And my wife is going to make me something out of it. Hudson, Wisconsin. I pre-ordered Mantic Halo skirmish game. Super excited to be playing tabletop to capture the flag. I saw it at they were running demos of it at AdeptiCon in their booth. There was a video recently that was like a demo of it. They've got some videos I think on their channel too, showing off the rules and stuff. So it's cool. Enjoyed the booty video. Makes me wish I could afford the flights to make a con in the U.S. I mean, it's a lot. It is. I'm not gonna lie. Let's see. Norwich, UK. Enjoy painting cities of Sigmar. Ironweld, great cannon. Great little diorama. Is that the cannon that's in the Spearhead box? Because that I'm looking forward to painting that. It does seem like a little kind of. It's just kind of like the field ordnance batteries that come in the combat patrol box for Imperial Guard. They're also kind of like little mini dioramas a little bit. When you get too big of a diorama, like there's a couple, like Ossiarch Bone Reapers have a big diorama piece, and so do Sisters of Battle. I know that one as well. Those are like too big and I'm not super into, but those kind of slightly smaller ones, it's not too bad. Emily, how you doing? Hope you and wifey are doing well. We are. My wife is currently, she baked for Easter and she is going through, she's got a bunch of gooseberries that she picked that were in the freezer. She has thawed them out and now she is cutting the little stems off, so she has this little scissors and she's got a gooseberry and she cuts the little stem off and then she takes the scissors and she goes clonk on this like little Tupperware thing, which makes this kind of noise, but like louder and sort of bassier. And then the little stem goes into the thing and it sounds weird to me. It's not a noise that we usually get around this house. And so there have been several times where I've been like, the hell is that noise? What is going on? And then I go, oh, it's the thing with the gooseberries. Got it. But yeah, she's doing that currently. Like I can hear it going on. Greetings from Temple Patrick, Northern Ireland, finishing 2 Land Raiders today. Have a good show. Absolutely. Morning from Chicago. Woke up with some opinions on Age of Sigmar 4. Oh my goodness. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. Good morning from the mountains of Virginia, not with the mountains of Virginia. Working on my very first Warhammer army this morning. Painting and recess shading is a great way to pass the hours. I agree. I do enjoy painting. I'm building AOS Vanguard boxes since AdeptiCon, but 40k chaos tonight for a change. Gotcha. How many Vanguard and Spearhead boxes do you plan on getting? Like I said, right now, like from what I understand, the Vanguard boxes are all being renamed and called Spearhead. I think there's a problem with the word Vanguard because Mantic has got their own game called Vanguard. That's their skirmish Kings of War game is called Vanguard. So I have a suspicion that's why they're changing, because all of the Vanguard boxes are just being repackaged and called Spearheads, as far as I can tell. Anyway, I don't know. Like I said, definitely, obviously, Cities of Sigmar. I already picked that one up, but I don't see myself like running through a bunch of them like I did with 40k. But we'll see. Maybe if the rules are really good and I really like them and I really like the play style, then I could see myself getting more of them for sure. But if it turns out that you know, like I got to be honest, I really enjoyed Age of Sigmar 1. I really enjoyed Age of Sigmar 2. But Age of Sigmar 3rd edition didn't do it for me. It was a lot of stuff going on, way more than I wanted, a lot more detail. It was a lot of way more crunch than I kind of wanted. So the idea that they've been talking about how it's being streamlined and that kind of stuff, and they're talking about some of the things in these articles and whatnot, is good, at least in my opinion. I'm sure there will be other people who are like, well, they've ruined it, you know, but that's the way it works with wargaming. The only thing that wargamers hate more than change is the way things are right now. So it's kind of the way it works. Hello from Forks. Howdy. Painting great charismatic dwarfs from Golden Oak Studio. Neat. Canada, St. John, Canada. Painting Wildcat and Zeros for Blood Red Skies. Nice. Paul Knox, how you doing? Andre, morning from Brazil. So, Uncle Adam, do you know if there will be any new factions for Spearhead, or will it just be new model releases? If I had to guess, and I don't know anything, but if I had to guess, it would be along the same lines as what they're doing right now, potentially with Combat Patrol. So when a new codex comes out, they're very likely to drop a new Combat Patrol, and then the old one is still technically legal, but the new one's the one you're going to find in stores. Now, they might not do that for, just off the top of my head, they may not do that here for Spearhead, because if the Spearhead ones were planned ahead a lot more, then they could just as well just say, here's a new book, Battle Tome, whatever they call it, yada yada, and not make a new box, because then they wouldn't need to. Like, I feel like some of the reasons why they're making new boxes, like the most recent one for 40K, I think, was Dark Angels. They replaced the Dark Angels box that used to only have 10 models, including the Redemptor, to now the one that's just got 19 Space Marines. And they might be doing that because I think, I've heard, at least, I haven't played yet, but I've heard that the Redemptor is real strong in Combat Patrol, possibly what they call OP. So if that's the case, then fixing that and going, look, we're not going to sell that one anymore, we're just going to sell this one, but not getting rid of the old ones, which would tick off the people who were, you know, obviously had the old one all done, ready to go, makes a smart move. But if they've been planning ahead and all of these Spearhead / Vanguard boxes are already kind of dialed in, then there's no reason necessarily to make a new one and throw off the apple cart, as it were, unless there's some reason why you might have to, or if you're trying to push some specific model. But it's a lot more work for them to make a new one in this situation versus to just change the packaging and keep selling the old one. At least I would assume, but I don't know. Happy Bunny Day from Columbus. Hi from Germany. Hello. I'm chuffed that I cleared out 21 figures this past week. Nice. Some ancient metal Marines and Stargrave Troopers. Nice. Pretty cool. In Canada, where I am, it really depends on what you do for a living as to whether or not Easter Monday is a holiday. I find the U.S. is a better amount of holidays compared to Canada. See, I swear that Adam from Army Painter told me that everybody at Army Painter was on vacation all last week because of Easter. Because I had some video that I shot during AdeptiCon, and I'm like, hey, should I send it to the video guys or whatever and stuff? And he's like, yeah, but they're on vacation because of Easter. And I'm like, and this was like Tuesday, and I was like, Easter's like next week, like on Sunday, but, you know. Like I said, as Americans, we're used to working all the time. Generally. VJ Morph, how you doing? First con, wear comfortable, supportive shoes. Drink before you're thirsty. Eat before you're hungry. Rest before you are tired. Those are all good, smart things. Yeah, I agree. Became completely obsessed with painting cars for Gaslands these past 2 weeks. Let me tell you, the miniatures are a lot cheaper than most others. Oh, yeah. Like when you go into the dollar store and you're like, oh, sweet. A whole bunch of Gasland cars in here. It's nice. Greetings from Harlingen, Texas. Recently made a trip to Ireland for a wedding. Cool. Visited Broadsword Gaming in Castlebar. Met Oliver. He's a nice fellow. Bought an Age of Sigmar starter box. Nice. I've seen videos with him and I can't remember her name. Ciara? I don't know. Anyway, I've seen videos with the two of them, but I've never met the two of them. Vince has. They were there when he was over in the UK for the Horus Heresy thing. Yeah. I've never been invited over or flown over to the UK for, I mean, like, you know, like Sam and a whole bunch of other people went over there for contrast stuff back in early 2019. Horus Heresy stuff, like Vince and Ninjan and Miniac and whatnot. A bunch of other people all got trucked over there, but no, they never bring me over to the UK. Probably because I'm snarky. That's probably most likely what it is. I'm always impressed by your usually accurate pronunciation of UK place names. Really? You've named them all so far, bar Reading. It's pronounced Reading. Oh, reading instead of Reading. Yeah, I can understand that one. Don't stop it. I've clicked on something and now I can't unclick on it. Well, we'll just keep scrolling and then eventually maybe it'll go away. No? Okay, cool. Oh, YouTube never change. Why can't I move the window anymore? Okay. That evidently fixed it. So, let me see here. Happy Chicago, or happy Sunday from Chicago, Austin, Texas. Been waiting on Skaven Refresh to get an Age of Sigmar. I'm so excited to see what they're cooking. They must be doing new Skaven stuff, right? Because they were in the big fancy video. So there's got to be new Skaven stuff, I'm hoping. Supportive shoes, okay. Starter box, got it. Reading, okay. There we go. Sorry, I meant the future for miniature wargaming. How can it evolve? I don't know. Probably new materials here and there. New techniques. The sun's starting to come out. I'm getting a little too bright. Oops, wrong way. There. I could see new techniques. Obviously, 3D printing is going to be a huge deal. Continues to be a huge deal. Yeah, I think that's some big ones. Skaven Refresh. Looking at the first 3 spearheads, they honestly blow most of the combat patrols out of the water. The models are so much nicer. They look like more cohesive forces and they're cheaper. They are cheaper, that's for sure. Yeah, like I said, the spearheads are $140. And from what I understand, if you buy a Vanguard box, it's just a spearhead. They're going to be changing the literal boxes, and then it'll just be the same stuff that's inside. I think that's true. I'm not 100% sure. I do know that the Cities of Sigmar box that I bought at my local shop said Spearhead on it, but he's got other boxes there in the store that are, say, Vanguard, but when you look online, I see them as being called Spearhead. So I think that they're just changing the packaging. Quite interested in 4th, and Spearhead looks intriguing. I think it's going to be interesting to see if it's just going to be the same as Combat Patrol. Like, have they said how big the board is? You know, in Combat Patrol, it's 44 by 30, which is basically like 2 Warcry boards or 2 Kill Team boards stuck together. Is it going to be the same size? Is it going to be bigger? Is it going to be smaller? I don't know. I guess I haven't seen any place where they've mentioned the size yet. So that'll be interesting to find out. AOS, more like AO, yes. Heyo, I get you. No interest in the new GW at all. I mean, that's fair. You know, I like to, in general, the only reason that I would be interested in New Age of Sigmar, for the most part, is because the models are cool. Like, if none of the models really spoke to me, I probably wouldn't bother, I'll be honest. But the Cities of Sigmar box, and again, if it was also a situation where it was like, well, the only way to play is to start with a 2,000 point army, I'd be like, oh, okay, cool, I'm not going to bother. But when Games Workshop is like, look, you can buy this one box, it's self-contained, you don't have to decide what's the best, most cohesive, perfect list, you just build what we tell you and then play that way, and then you don't have to, you know, some people don't like that. Some people are like, no, I want to build the list, that's what I want to do. Okay, cool. You have to play something else, unfortunately. I mean, you know, like, not at that size. You can play 500 points, you can play 1,000 points, knock yourself out. But if you want to play Combat Patrol, like, there's a lot of people when Combat Patrol came out last year for 10th edition, so many people are like, I want to play Combat Patrol, but I want to build my own list. I'm like, well, then that's not exactly Combat Patrol, kind of, you know? Because I used to play the old Combat Patrol back in the day. That's how I got into 5th edition 40K, was playing the old Combat Patrol back in the day, where the rules were you had to have a 400 point list. I don't think you could have anybody over 2 wounds. Your vehicles couldn't be more than 33 armor on the 3 different sides, front, back, and side. And there were some other little things here and there that you could and couldn't do. But there were armies that were just like, oh, cool, I don't have anything useful in that particular parameter. And then there were other armies that are like, oh, cool, it's, my day to shine. And so that was very kind of weird and unbalanced. So I like the concept of them just being like, just do it this way, because it's combat patrol, Spearhead, all these things are designed also to get people into the bigger game. Initially, the idea was that Warcry and Kill Team were supposed to get people into Age of Sigmar and 40K, respectively, but they don't, because they're very different rule sets and you're buying fewer models and it's a whole thing. Here, you're buying a box, you're building it, you're playing it, and then adding it up to go to 1,000 points in most situations does not mean adding a ton of stuff. So, and you're playing the normal 40K and Age of Sigmar rules. I'm assuming they'll be doing the same thing that they did with 40K. Like, you're playing 40K rules, but with slightly different data sheets. This will, I assume, be Age of Sigmar 4 rules with slightly different battle scrolls. I think they're called battle scrolls. Anyway, so we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But Lord knows I'm also, enjoying and playing other games as well and painting stuff for those as well. Like I said, yesterday I spent most of my day working on mechs for Steel Rift and mechs for Flames of Orion. So, some of the vanguards are odd. Sylvaneth has literally 10 models and 5 of them are infantry sized. Maybe that's one that they'll change. I don't know. That's a good question. I just picked up a Cities box also. Those models are so nice. I really do like I don't know what it is. There's just something about the way they look, especially the Steel Helm guys. I just really like those dudes. Well, they're not all dudes either. That's also cool. Is anyone actually thinking GW is creating a product with the player base in mind? Fool me once. I mean, they're obviously here to make money. Like, that's their job. And I don't mean that's good. I'm just saying that whenever you look at what they're doing, you go, well, how does this make them more money? Because that's their entire driving, thing. But there are times you can go, cool, I'm going to do this and play it this way. And then I'm not going to take this box and then turn it into a 2,000 or 5,000 point army. I'm just going to take this one box and it's going to be self-contained and I'll have a fun time with it, hopefully. Push comes to shove, I'll use the models in other games. You just have to, decide you're going to play it your way and you're going to buy your way and, that kind of stuff. Like I said, there's a possibility that if I just did decide to do the Soulblight Gravelords Spearhead box, at the very least, I would swap out and figure out some other vampire, because that Vampire Lord is so just, ugh. Or I just 3D print the whole thing, which would be fun too, because I'm not going to tournaments. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Best way to balance the starter boxes is through the missions, I guess. I mean, the way they were doing it with Combat Patrol is a lot of it is the victory points. Like the victory condition, not the victory conditions, like the secondary victory points or whatever. Like, if you're a super underpowered combat patrol, like let's say Imperial Guard, your secondary victory points are really easy to achieve so that you can, hopefully compete. Whereas if you're Custodes or the other guys, Grey Knights, your secondary victory conditions are a lot harder to achieve, so that it's kind of evens the playing field to some degree. Let's see here. Just want to see those new Skaven. Indeed. I always read the bats in the hair as turning into a swarm of bats. I feel he's just like that. I gotta sneeze. Excuse me. I just even if I was okay, I'll just swap out the head. I'll just get rid of that head and put a better head in there. It's still the rest of that model. He's standing on a weird tactical rock that's weird and pointy. Kind of looks like he's a skateboarder, like he's about to drop in on a pool. And just the shield, everything about that model is, I don't know what the heck they were smoking, but man, oh man, I'm not a fan. Age of Sigmar vampires are best when you replace their heads with elf or Eldari ones rather than just paint them with vampires and you wouldn't know they're from another kit. I mean, I could see that to some degree, although if they've got the stupid pointy helmets like the Eldar, then no, not for me, thanks. Vampire and the Soulblight blocks could get a new head from the Blood Knights in the same box. I mean, that's possible, but again, like I said, even the rest of him is not great. Honestly, the either the lady or the guy with the sword in Crimson Court would also be a good in the Crimson Court from Underworlds would be a good replacement. Either one of them would probably work just fine. Although the base might not be big enough. I had to check the base size, but other than that, probably fine. Good morning from Overcast, Connecticut. Planning to paint on my BattleTech Clan Invasion box minis today. Nice. Afternoon from a sunny but fresh Puckle Church in the UK, painting pirates this afternoon. Nice. That Blood and Plunder starter box at AdeptiCon was selling like crazy, but that's because they had lowered it down to like $99, I think. So I don't know, but yeah, they were definitely running through them. Greetings from Berlin, Germany. Wanted to ask you how you feel about painting canon paint schemes or camouflage compared to something you come up with on the spot. I always come up with stuff on the spot. I don't, even if I'm following like, even if I'm doing like a specific chapter, let's say for 40K, I painted Blood Angels for my Space Marine Combat Patrol from the Leviathan box. I still do it my own way. Yeah, I don't follow the stuff that they have in the books and say, oh well, this is the way that the third company of such and such chapter, like, nah, I don't care. So I kind of do my own stuff all the time. I may try to make it look a little bit like it, just so if I made my Blood Angels purple, that'd be a little weird, but I could do it if I wanted to. But I don't get super crazy fancy. I don't get into rivet counting and all that kind of stuff personally, but I don't, if you want to, that's cool. Good morning from Rockton, Illinois. Seems like I managed to avoid the Adepticon ick for another year. Nice. Yeah, I don't think I had any. I came back and was fine. Like I think I came back to allergies because I could tell because this eye started to get all weird and, leaky, which is not cool. But yeah, that went away. It was too crowded in the vendor hall on Thursday, at least, out of control. Oh yeah, no, it was crazy crowded. And Saturday was nuts. I really hope if they do relocate, it stays in the Midwest. Schaumburg is like only an hour and a half away from home for me, not trying to drive 4 hours. Sure. Like I've heard people go, oh, they got to move it to Vegas. That would be the worst idea possible. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I would think they would keep it in the Midwest because honestly, they're in the Midwest. Like I think some of the benefit to them is not having to like fly or drive incredibly long distances to get to where the show is if they decided to move it to Denver or I don't know, like in the Carolinas or something like that, like because I think they're both, I think Hank and Matthias are both in either the Chicago area or maybe one's in Chicago and the other one's in like in the middle part of Illinois or something like that. So it's I wouldn't think they'd want to go too far. I mean, they've got options, obviously. Again, I don't think that downtown Chicago would be a good idea. It would be super crazy expensive, but there's other places. Windsurf in your parka. I mean, not in the summer. What's your favorite memory from AdeptiCon this year? Probably the Tanks for the Apocalypse game. Yeah, that went really, really well. We had 30 people. Everybody brought their own tank, and they're all having a good time playing. It went really well. That was on Thursday. I mean, it was a lot of work to get to that point. Even on the day, like I was in the booth at the Army Painter till about like 1 or 2 or something like that, and our event started at 3. Vince was teaching till like 1 or 2, so basically about 2 o'clock, I like walked back to my hotel room, which was next hotel over, which is about a half mile away. Got my car; it already had all the terrain and everything we needed. Drove back to the where the convention center and the hotel is. Dropped it all off. Vince took a load of it upstairs to the room we were going to be in, and then I waited there. And he came back, grabbed the second load, and then because I didn't want to leave my car, we could have done it in one. If we both would, but then my car would have sat there, and I didn't want to do that. So we just did that. And then as soon as he took the second load and was starting to go, then I went to go park my car. I could not find a parking space in either of the parking lots. So I had to go all the way back to my hotel, park there, walk back again. And by the time I got up there, it was just like people were already playing. Like he had everything all set up, and there were 30 people standing around, and people were having a good time. So that was probably my best. That was probably the best thing. I think it was a lot of fun. Let's see here. Tamaya tape is great. Vallejo liquid mask is always also very nice. I've never tried the Vallejo stuff. I think I've tried Tamaya tape. One of the two. Working my second Warjack for Storm Legion. Lots of magnetized parts. Gotcha. Let's see here. How's being back from the con for a week? Pretty good. Yeah, no, it's been good. I've been trying to catch up and get things taken care of, and then I'm leaving for Denmark in 2 weeks. So, yeah. Good morning from Elkhart. How you doing? When cleaning paintbrush off in your cup, instead of wiping your wet brush on a paper towel, use Swedish dish towel. Works amazing and does leave any paper particulates in paint. I'll have to take a look at what a Swedish dish towel is. Shoes are key. Those hard concrete floors in those convention centers are debilitating. True. 28 Mag Volume 6 dropped yesterday. I did not know that. Oh, good. That's good to see. I'll have to download it. I got interviewed by a couple of brothers. They are triplets, but I only was interviewed by 2 of them. I don't know where the third one was. It's either the Weir brothers or the Wire brothers. It's spelled W-I-E-R, or is it W-E-I-R? They have a blog called Between the Bolter and Me, and they have a podcast called Dragged into Turbo Lasers. And so they interviewed me. The Hive Scum podcast had their booth kind of in the hallway at AdeptiCon, not in the main vendor area. And then there was this kind of like little, they called it the Grimdark hallway, and it was just this little thing that looked like you were heading into the bathrooms, but instead it went into a bunch of different offices back there, and they take over that whole area back there. And there was Mordheim going on back there. There was kit bashing. At one point, there was Turnip 28 going on. There's all kinds of crazy stuff, and it was cool to hang out back there. But they had a room towards the back that was kind of set up for podcasting. So I was walking around talking to people and looking at stuff and taking pictures of cool terrain and things like that. And I met the Weir brothers at first, for the first time, because I think it was their first Adepticon. And then they were like, hey, it'd be great to, interview for you for the podcast or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds cool. When do you think you want to do that? And they're like, well, do you have some time right now? And I was like, oh, sure. But I didn't realize they had their stuff all set up in the other room. So we went in there and I'm like, oh, cool. And we just sat down and started recording. So I tweeted about it a couple days ago. But if you just do a search for the podcast called Dragged into Turbo Lasers, you'll find the Adepticon one. And they interviewed a bunch of different people as well, but I'm in there as well. But it was a good conversation. It was nice. Hi, Uncle Adam. It was great to briefly meet you at Adepticon. This was my first convention in 20 years and a little overwhelming. It's a lot, but Gen Con is a lot more. Gen Con is, I'll be going to that in early August. Gen Con is like this was 8,000-ish people plus. Gen Con is 72,000. So yeah, it's not just wargaming like Adepticon is. It's role playing, it's board games, it's the collectible card games, it's the whole shoot and match. If anything, miniatures is the smallest of the 4 genres at that convention at Adepticon, but that can be really overwhelming. But it's also a much larger facility, so that helps. But yeah, I'm glad you had a good time. Absolutely, it's my favorite convention, Adepticon, for sure. Just wrapped up a very difficult painting commission that's been languishing for months. I feel like I've been paroled. I can now work on stuff my own that I got for Christmas. Nice. That's one of the many reasons that I don't do commissions, is because as soon as you do, then it becomes like, I have to get this done, but I want to do this. And it's all you can think about. They never tend to have adequate seating areas at conventions. No, I know what you mean. Steel Rook is so cool. Got to get someone to grab me one. Sold a Steel Rook online for $90. Let's see here. I once converted a Noise Marine, so they were doing a power slide. That was a pain. It sounds like a pain. Morning from Houston, Texas, painting Blood Bowl Lizardmen. That's hard to say. Feels like forever since I've hobbied, even though it was less than a month. Building cities of Sigmar stuff. Nice. Hey, Molly, how you doing? Tactical Marines kit at least used to have kneeling Marines, I think. I think they used to be like one leg Like, you know, one, yeah, like this, not like this. You know what I mean? But they had like 1 foot down and then one, yeah. And they would usually used them for shooting the rocket launchers, if you, at least if you were me. Great to see the stream this morning. I'll be watching the Texas Disc Golf Championship finals today, so I might have to bolt out early. Absolutely. That sounds interesting. 2 months until the UK Games Expo in England, the venue has the option to utilize more halls, which is cool. It currently uses 3, but can comfortably expand the space as the headcount scales. That's always nice when you've got like way more room to grow into. You know what I mean? Gosh, I really hope that AdeptiCon doesn't move to Indiana. Like, there's plenty of space, obviously. That's where they do Gen Con in Indianapolis there, but it is like at least for me personally, it's like a 6-hour drive, 6.5. So yeah. Woodstock, Illinois, AdeptiCon was packed. I spotted you, Vince, Sam, and other creators that I love, but was so busy I was hesitant to approach any of you to say hello. Well, we're always happy to say hello, but I know what you mean. Like, sometimes it gets crazy, crazy busy. Your wife is a treasure. She is. She is a treasure. I agree. Hope everyone is having a great morning, evening, depending on where you are in the world. I usually say happy time zone. Let's see here. Greetings from Texas. I really enjoyed watching your Flames of War video. Do you still play? I don't. No, I haven't played in a long time. We were playing, like, I got into it partially because I hit that age where all of a sudden I was like, World War II is kind of interesting. But then also there was other people that were playing it as well. So it's a lot easier to get into a game when you've got a bunch of friends who are doing it. But then it's kind of dropped off, and no one's around here is playing it too much that I know. I know there's a big group of folks who play in the southern part of the state, but I haven't played in a long time. I'm also not as interested in historical games, especially historical games that happened sort of recently. Like, my wife's grandfather was in World War II. He was a Marine Raider in Pacific Theater. And so I don't begrudge anyone else who wants to play the games, but I don't want to play a game based off of things that happened to him. I mean, he's passed on, but still, it's not, you know, I'm not super interested even in like historical World War II like video games either. Now, if it's alternate World War II, like where there's like werewolves and laser tanks and stuff like that, like say something like Conflict 47, then I seem to like it just fine. You know, though I unfortunately have not got a chance to play any Conflict 47 because, again, no one else here around plays it, and I've got enough other stuff to do. But yeah, no, that's kind of my feelings on that. But that, like, when we did Tanks for the Apocalypse, that is technically a World War II game, but it's alternate history because it's after the apocalypse happens, after they test the first atomic bomb, and it's a whole thing. But yeah, and that didn't happen, as it turns out. So there's that. Age of Sigmar 4 hype. Won my local New Year new army with my ghouls yesterday, and ready for a fresh index. Nice. I think a lot of people, and I can understand this, a lot of people are ticked off about the index thing, but I have a suspicion, and I don't know if this is true, but I have a feeling that we're now on a 6-year cycle. So these games are on a 3-year cycle. You got your Age of Sigmar 3 was 3 years ago, Age of Sigmar 4 this year. And you'll notice that Age of Sigmar 4 is going to be an index release, which is to say, if you don't know what that means, it means that the battle tomes that have been coming out, even ones that are coming out between now and this summer, as soon as the new game comes out, they will all become useless, because instead of what it used to be, where like when a new edition comes out, you've got your battle tome from last edition and you just keep using it, they're changing things so drastically that the old book is like literally useless because the stats are going to change and like all that kind of stuff. So they have to basically rip off the Band-Aid, and then when the new edition comes out, then everybody gets free downloads of indexes, which are not codexes or battle tomes, right? But if you look at the way they've been doing it over in the Warhammer 40K camp for a while, they made indexes happen for the first time that I can remember in 8th edition. And then 9th edition was not an index release, which means if you had a book that came out towards the end of 8th edition, and when you went into 9th edition, your book was still good, all the books were still good, and they would get slowly replaced and stuff. And then 10th edition came out, and then that was an index release again, meaning that you got, those downloadable things, or you could buy the cards if you're really into cards or whatever. And if I had to guess, in two-ish years, when 11th edition 40K comes out, it won't be an index edition. And then in 5.5 years, when 12th edition comes out, it will be an index edition. And I have a suspicion that it's going to be evens will be index editions and odds will not. And I'm wondering if that's what they're going to do with Age of Sigmar. So 3rd edition was not an index edition. They had never really done index editions technically. I mean, Age of Sigmar started so kind of oddly that it didn't matter because all the, the old battle tome, what are they called? The sheets, the data sheets, whatever they're called. War scrolls. The war scrolls were, free anyway for the longest time. And so I'm wondering if 5th edition, which will come out in 3.5 years of Age of Sigmar, will then not be an index. And then in 6.5 years, when 6th edition Age of Sigmar comes out, if it will be an index edition again. I'm wondering if that's the kind of the plan that they're doing. So yeah, we'll see. It's not great. I mean, just the whole concept of making these books that are useless in 6 months is not great. But what are you going to do? Saw Godzilla X Kong with the family. Top fun, had a blast. Most over-the-top kaiju craziness yet. Nice. Any reason you don't stream this on Twitch at the same time? It seems like a lot of work. I don't know. Yeah, I just probably habit because I've been doing this show on YouTube and then I do my painting on Twitch and it's... But yeah, no, I'd have to figure out how to multi-stream it and stuff like that, and I just haven't currently bothered yet. I would think I would also have to keep track of 2 different chat windows at the same time too, which I have a hard time keeping track of just one, right? So there's that. Happy long weekend. Wish there were more 4-day holidays like this. I do not know what you're talking about. we don't get any holidays for Easter around here. Morning from Baltimore. Molly says, got 2 spearheads and 2 Cities of Sigmar launch boxes as my army. Wow, that's a good size. That's gonna be a lot of fun. Frosted Cookie the Puppy says, best Adepticon yet. Great announcements at GW, but the decision to deliver them as a movie was bad. Oh my God, yes it was. It was horrific. When you go to a concert, you don't go to watch music videos, you go to see the band live. True. Yeah, so for those of you that don't know, it's getting bright again. I gotta darken things up a bit. There we go. For those of you that don't know, if you watched a video on Twitch with the announcement, and it's an hour and 12 minutes long, that was what we watched there in person. Normally in the past, what happens is that you're there in person, and so they'll show a quick video about it's like the teaser for the new thing or whatever, and then everyone's like, yay, and then the people are like, okay, and this is that, and this is this, and they explain things, and they show pictures of them like on a light colored background, so you can see very clearly the stuff that's going on. You can see what's happening, you can see the miniatures. And then they get done with that bit, and then those 2 people talk for a while, and they're literally right there in front of you on microphones. And then they stop, and then they show the next video, and then they're talking about something else for Age of Sigmar or for Necromunda or whatever. Well, this year what they decided to do was, what if we just took all of them and turned them into one very long video, and they just played it. They just got up there and were like, hey, everybody, this is going to be a really special time, so please don't record it. It's really special that you folks are here. Now watch this almost hour and 20 minute video. And that's what they just ran, and it just went. And it would be a short video doing the teaser thing, animation, yada, yada, whatever. And then it would be like 2 or 3 designer nerds, like English guys in plaid shirts in a studio somewhere, not live, but just talking about the thing that we just watched. And also no decent pictures of the models. They would not show just like, here's what the models look like on a light background so you can see them. It was always this like close-up rotation thing with lights and smoke machines and stuff like that. So I have no idea what any of these models look like. And it went on for an hour and 12 minutes or whatever it was. Being there in the actual place, people were falling asleep around me. People were just having full-on conversations because they didn't care anymore. I'm like, why don't you leave if you want to go have a conversation? And they're like, well, but something might happen in a couple hours. No, it was terrible. It was the worst thing. I went to a content creator event that GW put on like right after the preview upstairs in some lounge or whatever. I was invited to that. So I went there, and this woman from GW who I've never seen before, I don't know if she's new or what, probably about my age, And she walks up and she's wearing like a polo shirt with the logo on it and the whole deal. And she, is like, "Hi, how you doing?" And everything. I'm like, "Oh, good." She's like, "What did you think about the event tonight? What did you think about the premiere?" And I literally just said, and I probably had a half a beer in me at this point or whatever, but I was just like, "Yeah, it was more than twice as long as it needed to be." And she's like, "Yeah, no, we've been getting that response a lot." I'm like, "Yeah, I bet you have." And I said, "Also, I would like to be able to see the models. Like, you guys didn't really show the models very well. Just put them on a light background. You know what I mean?" Yeah, it was crazy. And I talked to Jay from Eons of Battle the next day. He was up by the Jay and the other guy whose name I can never remember. I apologize. Eric? Yeah. Anyway. They were up by where we were doing tanks for the apocalypse, and I was chatting a little bit with them, and they had been still at home because they live in Wisconsin, so they just had driven in on Thursday. They weren't here on Wednesday night. So what was my point? My point was that they were watching it when it was happening on Twitch, and evidently chat was just absolutely brutal because they got real bored waiting for all, because they would like literally they showed a 30-second teaser, less than a 30-second teaser for Necromunda, where they didn't even show a model, and then they talked about it for like 5 minutes afterwards. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I don't know. I've said this a bunch. I appreciate that they're throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks, but this did not stick. I don't know. When I was at the Nova Open preview that they did back in late August in DC last year, that preview, they just literally, I think the entire preview was done in 25 minutes. They were just like, "Here you go. Here's a video. And we're going to talk about, here's some pictures. There you go. Next one. And they just fired through it. So they must have done that and gone, well, that didn't work. I thought it worked just fine. You get on with your day. You know what I mean? So then they did this instead. And I hope they don't ever do it again because it was terrible. We'll see how it goes. I don't know. Let's see here. Good morning from Tennessee. I thought my phone was vibrating for a second, but as it turns out, I can hear a woodpecker doing a brrr like that. Got my hands on a box of terrain for Legions Imperialis, working that out so I can finally play. Nice. Did you get to the bottom of the burning smell yesterday? Toast. Yes, my wife had burned some toast. Sometimes the toaster is weird. But yes, I was during the Patreon live show that I did yesterday afternoon. I was in here and also I was like, something is burning, but it was toast. Will they just rename, or will they issue new Spearhead boxes for each faction with different balanced forces? I suspect they will just rename. I'm pretty sure that's what's going on. Is that a cello case behind you? Yep. What is the black rectangle towards the top? It's blurry. You can't make it out. I think it's just like a rubber plate to make it so that it doesn't rub on stuff or whatever. But initially people were like, "Hey, that looks like a robot or something." And then VJ Morph here in the chat sent some googly eyes, and so now that's Nick Ramondo is the name of that particular fellow back there. But my wife plays cello. My 2024 project pre-AdeptiCon was going to be building a new 40k army. After the con, though, I'm focusing on smaller games. Kit Bash and Necromunda Gang yesterday. Nice. Also ordered a set of your brushes from the local monument distributor this Arvo after what you said yesterday. Gotcha. Painting my halflings for OPR Fantasy using the Army Painter speed paints. Enjoy your videos. Keep the great content. Thanks. Well, I appreciate it, Don. I had a great meeting with the folks from Army Painter. Obviously, I hung out with Army Painter folks a lot. I mean, I had a great meeting with the folks from OPR, One Page Rules. I got to meet Gaetano, who I had not met before, although we had a video call at least once, maybe twice. But it was nice to meet him in person. And then their new business guy, whose name is either Paul or Pierre, and I can't remember because I am bad at names. And then Jefferson, who's their community manager, who I've met a couple times before. So yeah, that was really good. We talked for quite a while. It was nice. Age of Sigmar 3rd edition is awful and worst with the seasonal books. I don't like the seasons. I wish they would cut that out, but I'm not necessarily the target audience, so whichever, Did you see Fallout Factions at Adepticon? I did not get to play it or do a demo. I did have a nice conversation with James Hewitt, who wrote it. So that was good. He and I have chatted online before and stuff like that, like in Twitter or whatever, but we'd never met in person. So it was nice to meet him. I'm interested in trying a demo of it at some point. It sounds like it's less than currently Wasteland Warfare. Wasteland Warfare has got a lot of things going on, and this factions seems like less so, which is nice. Morning from Plymouth, Wisconsin. Any recommendations for matte gloss clear coats for airbrush? Trying to get an airbrush setup together. We were talking about this yesterday a little bit. If you can find, probably your easiest thing to find was going to be Ammo by MIG. So Ammo by MIG, M-I-G. They have a ultramatte varnish, or it's called Lucky Ultramatte Varnish, or something like that. That stuff's probably really, really good from what people have been saying yesterday in the conversation from Patreon. JP Got Rockets, how you doing? Ran an amazing paint and take yesterday, thanks to your friends at Army Painter and Monument. Nice. Got a cheap 48th scale tank at the show last week to convert Kit Bash into a futuristic tank for one of my rule sets. Tomorrow's War. Nice. Hello from Michigan. I'm finishing up painting my 2 Legions Imperialis armies. Nice. Came across a video of yours from 5 years ago about how it's okay to be mediocre. It's true. It's true. Could I suggest revisiting this topic? As a new army painter, I worry that I'm not pushing myself to improve my painting. Do you need to? I mean, I guess that's the question. If you enjoy the output that you're putting out, if you're happy with the models you're making, unless you're trying to get, like, if you're trying to win competitions, you're trying to enter competitions and stuff like that, generally, if you just paint and you just keep doing it, you will get better or faster. Sometimes you don't necessarily get a heck of a lot better, but you will get faster, which is also kind of its own benefit, really. So, if you're like, but no, I'm trying to win competitions, well, then you have to practice a lot. You have to try new things. You have to push yourself, that kind of thing. But if you're just trying to get cool stuff on the table and have a good time with it, you don't need to get better and better and better and better necessarily actively. Just doing it, the act of doing it will generally start to kind of do that. Still pay attention to cool new techniques and things that you might like. Try new things. But hobbies you don't have to be excellent at everything. You know what I mean? It's just sometimes a hobby is just a thing you do for fun and you enjoy it. So yeah. Austin, Texas, painting Soviets for Flames of War and Rohan Riders for Middle Earth. Nice. Dark Angel CP box was not a good one at all. The limited number of units was a disadvantage for taking objectives, even with the Redemptor. Updating the box was a very good thing. I've heard a lot of people say that it was overpowered. I don't know. I just wanted to paint a Redemptor. So, and that guy with the leather coat, the chaplain. Yeah. I'm looking forward to getting that thing done. Hello from Glasgow. How you doing? Let's see here. Latest Age of Sigmar rule set I got into is the free set for 2nd edition, and I personally see no reason to go beyond. Sure. A big pile of shame for 40k orcs, and I keep eyeing Cities of Sigmar for the new Age of Sigmar edition. That is a thing. I do that kind of thing myself. I find it crazy that there's no legal minimum for paid holidays over here. There, it's horrific. Morning from Illinois. Whoops, everything moved. Skateboarding vampires. Wow, I'm way behind. Holy jeebus. Dark Angels, there we go. Morning from Illinois. I'm currently deliberating on what models to get for Majestic 13. I've been eyeing Anvil Industries undercover operative STLs for the player characters. I think I've seen those. Those would be probably good. I could see that. Yeah, for the characters, I could see that. When I worked in restaurants, Easter Monday was time and a half. Hot Wheels for Gasland? Generally Hot Wheels or Matchbox cars. Yeah, they work best. Greetings from Cologne, Germany. Currently going through a tonsillitis instead of spending a week with my family in London. That is a bummer, and I am sorry to hear that. So, spending time with your family in London sounds like more fun than tonsillitis, that's for sure. Let's see here. Hot Wheels Matchbox cars, perfect Gasland. Yep. Took part in the inaugural Armed Forces 40K tourney in Plymouth, UK last week. I didn't finish last. Well, that's pretty cool. Heading to my niece's baptism. Have a lovely day. You too. Getting baptized on Easter. Painting the Bozos from Cyberpunk Red Zone. Oh, yeah, I remember those. Kind of refreshing doing bright colors. Can't wait for the acrylic stand-ups for the edge runners. No painting. Yeah, I saw those at where the heck was it? Gamma, at the Gamma trade show. And their booth was right next to Army Painter's booth this year at AdeptiCon, and I don't think I ever actually got in there. It was one of those deals, whenever I leave the booth, I would have a tendency to turn left and go back towards the front doors, and they were right to this side of us, so I didn't, I did get to say hi to John, though, at one point, who's like the president, owner? I don't know. He's crazy tall. Edinburgh is pronounced Edinburgh, not Edinburgh, by the way. Oh, okay, gotcha. All English place names have been precision engineered to unintuitive to pronounce. It's a bit of a lark. That makes sense. I mean, we got a bunch of weird stuff here in Wisconsin. A lot of Native American names. Manitowoc, Conomowoc, Waukegan, Waukesha. Like, I don't know. There's a bunch of them you look at and go, especially Conomowoc. I've seen a lot of people look at a Conomowoc and go, Akamawak, what? And yeah, you get a lot of that. Since I only play Age of Sigmar with my brother-in-law and I'm teaching him, I'm not bothering with this new edition. Makes sense. That's the thing that's cool about, tabletop games is you don't have to update if you don't want to. I mean, if you're going to play with other people who have updated, then, well, you sort of need to. But if it's just like you and two friends and you can be playing 3rd edition 40K if you want to, it's fine. I hear people do it all the time. Hello from Finland, creating a new website for my Narrative Mordheim campaign. Question, how much narrative is too much narrative for a miniature wargame? When is Wargaming Campaign 2 RPG for you? Oh, gosh. I'm not crazy into lore. For me, the best kind of narrative is like games like kind of like the stuff that Vince and I do, where at the end of the game, you then roll to see, okay, well, this guy was out of action. What happens to him? This guy killed 2 dudes and then therefore he went up a level and got like a new thing or whatever. Like, I don't usually, like, I've never been the type of person who after a game sits down and writes a story about it. I mean, it's cool when people do that, but it's not my jam. So yeah, anytime that anyone like writes a new or starts working on like a new skirmish game and they're like, well, I've almost hopefully through the 20 pages of lore, the story about it, that I'm like, okay, I mean, it's not for me. Like when we write a book, we write 2 pages of lore, and usually there's pictures on some of those pages, so it's really not 2 pages of lore. It's more like a page and a half or less. We just want to give you a taste of what it's supposed to be, and then you run with it, and that's what we like to do, but everyone's different. Let's see here. I had fun with my Circle Ouroboros display at Armies on Parade at AdeptiCon, though I knew I had no chance against the insane displays from the Warhammer guys. Kudos to all who participated. Yeah, there was a bunch of crazy shenanigans going on there, I'll tell you what. Jonathan here, the Aussie from Canada. Great to meet you at AdeptiCon. Absolutely. We met when you were taking lunch. I feel bad for the Age of Sigmar players. When 40K 10th edition was shown, we saw minis. Yeah, no, you're right. That's true. I mean, they were kind of showing minis, but like, again, they weren't showing them like, you couldn't see them because they were just like, they were not on like a white background where you could figure out what the silhouette was. It was a lot of smoke and maybe some mirrors. I don't know. But it was good to meet you. Yeah. Would those Cities of Sigmar models be usable for your upcoming new game? Some of them, I guess you could. Yeah, I guess you could use some of the like regular dudes. I found the most telling part of Combat Patrol and the community was when someone I know said the quiet part out loud, "These suck. There's no jank in any of these boxes." I mean, yeah, you're not wrong. I find myself watching videos about 2nd edition 40K to remind myself how much fun it was as long as you kept the games under 1,200 points. Otherwise, it was too clunky as an army game. Sure. My friends say 40K is too expensive of a hobby. I tell my son I didn't play Magic because it was too expensive. So odd. Yeah, I mean, everyone's got different ideas of what's expensive, I guess, for sure. Skateboarding vampires could work as a concept, but you'd have to theme your whole army around them. You'd also have to make sure that you don't fall down and break your board, because if you're a vampire and you fall and break your board, then it could turn into a wooden stake, which could then kill you. I mean, you don't want that, right? I have some of the Villainy ink enamel washes. Do you need to use mineral spirits to remove, or can you just wipe it off with a cloth? I know that when I posted about it on Instagram, the guy who created them commented in that post and was like, make sure you thin them down before you use them. So that's the only good piece of advice I have. I have not, unfortunately, got a chance to use them yet, but I do hope to soon. But from what I understand, you want to thin them down a little bit before you put them on, and then you wait till, I don't know, till they sort of dry a little bit, start to set up, and then you can kind of wipe away. That's the idea generally. There's a bunch of videos on their YouTube channel that you might want to watch to find out about that stuff too. Commemorative series Vampire Lords are good too. I don't know if I've seen any of those. Maybe. Skateboarding Vampires, I need this movie. I mean, that'd be kind of cool. Never thought I'd see the day I'd be watching this channel on my main iPhone full screen, but typing these comments on my retired iPhone while painting my minis. But here I am. I mean, I've done that where I'm like watching Twitch on my television while trying to eat lunch, but then commenting and stuff like that on my phone. I mean, yeah. Where a good place to go for STL files for female heads for Stormcast Eternals? Probably, I'm always telling people to go to My Mini Factory. That's probably the best place for STLs in general. I've replicated certain camo patterns in 15mm, have been really happy with the results. Nice. I test the new AP Fanatics on Flash Kit. So far, I love the new colors. Yeah, I've been really super happy with the Fanatic paints. AdeptiCon would work at the Rosemont Convention Center. I thought it would be really super crazy expensive though, because Rosemont like is Chicago, right? Like downtownish, kind of almost. Move it to Dallas. I don't know about that. Hello from Florida. Finishing up my Christmas pirate-themed Caradon Overlord warband. Basically, a bunch of Santa-dressed dwarf criminals stealing presents all over the... Oh, that's fun. Nice. A friend of mine here in town did a really awesome Caradon Overlord conversion where he turned them all into Skaven, basically. So he just had the Skaven heads coming out of the armor and all that kind of stuff, and it was a whole thing. It was well done. He did a really good job. No con plague for me or any of my friends. It's an AdeptiCon miracle. Yeah, no, I agree. I'd like to attend AdeptiCon in 2025. When do tickets go up for sale usually, or announcements for them? It's interesting. Normally, housing goes up first. It used to be that housing would go live in July. Now it's closer to August or September, but that's generally when the housing goes up first, and then tickets and stuff go up closer to Thanksgiving, sometimes even December. So you try to get your hotel rooms first, and then you get, and then months go by, and then you try to actually get. And the reason they're doing that partially is because it also gives them more time to figure out what events are going to happen, because people are running events, people are running, painting classes, like all that kind of stuff. But the hotels are the hotels, so they can take care of that a bit earlier in the year. But yeah, generally these days, like I said, it used to be July, but these days it's like, I think it's August or September is when the hotels go up. And the actual buying badges and buying event tickets and, classes and all that stuff goes up in like sometime right around Thanksgiving or maybe early December, I think. Now, again, they may change it again this year, but it's hard to say. Is Chicago not the obvious choice then? Surely there are bigger venues there. Yeah, but then again, like I said, it's the cost, like honestly, there's a part of me that's thinking, I don't know why they just don't go to Milwaukee, because Gen Con got to 16 or 18,000 people in Milwaukee before they finally filled up that space. And then they had to go to Indianapolis back in 2003. My wife and I first started dating, and our first date was August 17th, 2001. And then we went to Gen Con the next year. I have pictures. And that was the last year it was in Milwaukee. And then 2003 was when it went to Indianapolis, which is how I remember it. But yeah, so, and Milwaukee's like what, an hour north of Schaumburg, roughly? I don't know. I haven't been to that building though. It used to be called the Midwest Express Center. It's called something else now. I haven't been to that building in years and years and years and years, but I'm assuming it's still like there. I mean, I know it. Well, I know it's still there. I actually had to look up recently. Why did I know? Oh, because when they originally built the Midwest Express Center, like Gen Con had been at the Mecca, but then eventually it was a new building they made and blah, blah. Anyway, they had this statue right by the front door that was a guy who was a security guard, and it was a statue, but it wasn't like a bronze statue or anything. It was so realistic that people didn't realize it wasn't a person. Like if you got up real close and looked at him, you could see like pores in his skin and stuff like that. It was this super hyper realistic just like guy standing there and like, you know, like this, probably in his 60s, wearing the hat, and he had like a holster and a whole deal, and it was just a statue, and it was super cool. And I was just remembered it recently, and I was like looking it up. I don't know, earlier part of this year, I was looking up to see, and it evidently is still in that building, but I forget what the building's called now. Anyway, that could be something. You know what I mean? Indianapolis Convention Center has space. Oh, yeah, well, sure, yeah, no, it does. Yeah, that's where they had, like I said, that's where they have a Gen Con. I live in Indy, so I'm a tad biased. I get that. AdeptiCon is smaller than Gen Con, and that would fit into the hotels. Oh yeah, no, like yes, like I said, Gen Con is 72,000 people. Adepticon this year broke 8,000. So yeah, no, it wouldn't need to be that big. I cannot travel to the U.S. at least until certain laws are changed. Gotcha. I really want to try some Streaking Grime. Uh, uh, what's the Streaking Grime that I like to use? Ammo by MiG again. Streaking Grime. Glad vaccines are required to cross the U.S.-Canada border because that prevented hateful protesters from showing up at Anime North last year. Interesting. I don't know where Anime North is. Wargaming back rooms sounds like heaven. Oh, the Grimdark Hallway. Yeah. It was my favorite thing at the con. I didn't know existed. Great group of folks. Oh, yeah, for sure. Totally great group of folks. Really fired me up creatively. Yeah. I'm going to Gen Con for the first time since 2012 this year. Not sure what to expect after having such a great time at AdCon. It's not wargaming focused much at all. There's very little wargaming going on there. Just in general. There's role playing up the yin yang. There's board gaming all over the place. Even Magic and stuff like that. There's a lot more of that. We're of the four genres. Definitely, miniature gaming is the smallest at Adepticon, or sorry, at Gen Con. That said, it's still a lot because it's just such a bigger convention. What else? Oh, there's a lot of cosplay too, which I'm not into cosplay. I'm fine with people enjoying it and whatever. That's kind of cool. But the problem is on Saturday, they have a cosplay parade that they seem to specifically make it cut the entirety of the convention in half. So if you're trapped on the wrong side, you will get shouted at if you just try to get from like where you are to the vendor hall, because and it goes on for like an hour and a half. Just people kind of meandering by in their different cosplays and stuff. Why they can't put that someplace else that it doesn't cut you, literally you can't get anywhere when they do that on Saturday afternoon. They really need to figure out a way to fix that. That's the thing that really bothers me, is that there's just this parade goes on for an hour and a half, and you will literally be like, I don't know if they'll actually knock you down, but I have been shouted at, like it hadn't started yet, and I just wanted to walk 20 feet this way, and a person from Gen Con shouted at me very loudly because I was trying to get from point A to point B, and it hadn't even started yet. And I'm like, so yeah, that's the thing. That's the worst part of Gen Con, is that stupid parade. Like, it needs to be someplace where it does not cut the entirety of the convention in half. It does not need to be in the middle of the convention. Otherwise, that's fine. Let's see here. Thanks to the shell, finish it later. Baby's awake. Engage dad mode. Absolutely. Why wouldn't Adepticon just move to Chicago? Like I said, cost. I think it would be a lot more expensive, because then the hotels become way more expensive because you're in downtown Chicago or whatever. Like, everything becomes a lot more expensive if you do it that way. Rosemont is a natural next step for Adepticon, but it'll be much more expensive. I mean, like I said, there's other options, I think. Looking for recommendations of non-STL cute anthropomorphic animal minis like mice, squirrels, etc. I don't know any of those things. I'm not generally into that kind of stuff myself, but somebody else in chat might. Let's see here. Expensive squirrels. There we go. Most of my wargaming minis are 15 millimeter. I'm starting to get back into 28 because the scale work really works for doll houses. Interesting, huh? What are your plans for Nova? I have my hotel taken care of already. I think that I think our Army Painter is gonna have a booth, so we'll probably be in the booth a bit. and then going around doing stuff. I know that Vince and I are doing a seminar about content creation and wargaming creation, that kind of stuff, Otherwise, I don't have any hard and fast plans currently. Hitting some nice restaurants though, because they've got really good restaurants around the Nova now that they've moved it. I'm really glad with the move. I'm really happy about it. How long before AdeptiCon would absolutely have to move? Are there rooms that are being underutilized? There aren't. They've utilized all of the rooms. And yeah, no, that building is too small now. Yeah, I think that they would have to move pretty soon, honestly, especially since they grew, like I said, at least 1,000 people since last year. Like that, like if they went up like a couple hundred or something like that, we got about a couple hundred more signups this year. But on Wednesday morning, I was chatting a little bit with Hank, who's one of the two main organizers for the show, and he had told me even then that there were like 1,000 new or 1,000 more pre-registrations or whatever in comparison to 2023. So yeah, and they also, if you go back and look at 2023, I think they said they had about 7,000 people there in the Facebook after the show, and the one that they posted on whatever last week or this past week Monday or whatever said something like they were over 8,000. So yeah, that's a big jump in 1 year. Big problem with Rosemont, harshes the party, no walking around with beer. Oh yeah, no, I can see that too. Apparently they're locked in at the Renaissance for at least 2 more years. Really? Never been to a gaming con and would like to go to one next year. What would be a good one to start? I'm in Southern Ontario. I would try to find something kind of local. And I think that there's local stuff. I swear there's one in Ontario, but yeah, I would try to find something local, do a little bit of research, and find something that you're not having to like get on a plane or travel crazy far and all that kind of stuff, like some huge convention. I think if your first convention's a huge convention, it's a big culture shock and it's kind of difficult. So for sure. How Molly is doing. Unfortunately, despite my desire to be doing more building, I got the Cavalier Marshall done, and by the time I was halfway through, my hands were shaking, so I couldn't carry on. Is that the main horse riding guy in the Spearhead box? Because I got his horse done, and now I got to put him on the horse. I'm trying to decide whether I want to stick him on the horse or not, or if I want to paint him separately. But I don't know how easy he's going to get on. It's another one of those things where I'm maybe going to be flummoxed by the model building again for GW, because why not have 78,000 parts for everything. How's your weekend, Ben? I was painting a Casterkin Sergeant, an old Kit Bash Chaos Lord I've assembled over a decade ago, made it look better than the first painted. Well, that's pretty cool. Yesterday I did a little bit of hobby, luckily. I had a live show from noon to 2 for the Patreon folks. Then I did some I cleaned up some resin models, got the flash off and all the little like mold lines and stuff like that. Didn't glue them together yet because I wanted to actually scrub them too. With resin models, you want to scrub them before you try to glue them together or paint them, because the mold release that's on the models still will make it so paint doesn't stick, and possibly even glue too. So I took care of that, then set them on a piece of paper towel to dry. Then I went and worked on some other mechs. I was working on my second Force for Steel Rift. And then we had bulgogi for dinner that I ordered from a local place, which was lovely. I have leftovers, which is rare, but they always give you way too much. And then we watched Kingsman, which I've seen before, but I just was in the mood all of a sudden, and then we watched it on like HBO or something like that. And then, did I do any more hobby in the evening? I didn't, unfortunately, no. Let's see here. While I was watching that video, I almost fell asleep twice. Tyler actually started talking to me. I realized I dozed off. Why isn't Mike presenting anymore? I don't know. He was there. Like, he was the guy who was like, hey, don't take pictures. And then they just, yeah, that was a weird thing. Yeah, I'm sure I also dozed off at one point too. Like, it was so long. Doesn't feel like it's been a week already since AdeptiCon. It was great seeing you again this year. Yeah, no, it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't seem like that either. I agree. Good evening from the Philippines. At the tail end of a 4-day-long Easter holiday in my country, painting up some Thousand Suns. Nice. Showed up early Thursday, probably for the best. I mean, I don't know. I like going on Wednesday, but like I had some meetings on Wednesday, so it was beneficial. But yeah, that premiere, if they decide that's how they're going to do it in the future, then I'm not going to go to the previews anymore. I'll just wait till the stuff comes out on a Warhammer community or whatever. I don't think anyone wants Lewis to present in a live setting. Could be. How long do you think before AdeptiCon absolutely has to move? I don't know. Like, I think maybe soon. A lot of things about GW give off a feel that they don't respect their customers' time or money. Sounds grumbly, but that's what turned me off from them. I can understand that. Yeah, I can see how that can be. Yeah, for sure. The GW event, dude next to us was full on asleep. Was hilarious. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think there was a lot of people. There was people that I could see that were asleep, and there were also people that were just having full on conversations, just yammering about stuff, and they just didn't care because it was really boring what was going on up there. It's taken me 5 Space Marine codices and the same amount of Blood Angel supplements before I realized I'm being mugged for paper by GW. Happy to pay for models and novels, but done with the codices. Yeah, you're not wrong, especially if you're a Blood Angels player or Space Wolves or Dark Angels, because it used to be that you bought the Dark Angels Codex or you bought the Blood Angels Codex, but now you got to buy the Space Marine Codex and then the Blood Angels Supplemental Codex. You can't just buy the one, you got to buy them both. So now all of a sudden for books, you're looking at $100 at least, if not more. Well, and I mean, just codexes. And then, of course, you're also then looking at buying the main rule book, which, you know, or whatever. So, yeah, they definitely have a paper problem. And one of the reasons that Combat Patrol and, in this situation, Spearhead are attractive to me is because you download all the rules for free, including the data sheets / war scrolls or whatever. So that's a benefit. I don't need the books. I don't need a codex. I don't need anything. I just buy the box, download the sheets, and I play. You know what I mean? You don't even, like I said, you don't even need the main rule book because they have the core rules PDF available, and that's all you really need. Well, there's also another special PDF that you also download that is designed specifically just for, I think, like scenarios and stuff like that for Combat Patrol. And I'm sure they'll do something like that as well for Spearhead. There will be here is a like a core rule document for Age of Sigmar 4, and here is the Spearhead special scenarios and whatnot, and that kind of stuff. And then of course you download the rule set, the war scrolls for your particular Spearhead box, and then you go from there. But yeah, I think that's the fact that if you are playing normal 40K or normal Age of Sigmar and how many books you need, I'm done with that. I don't want to do that anymore. So I get it totally. That was a long wait to see those new models. We'll get some of them more soon this year. Full GW armies are in the same bucket for me as Magic cards. I don't need to buy any more skirmish games. Sure, I like my Marines. Yeah. What really annoyed me about the AdeptiCon reveals was the Horus Heresy video that showed absolutely nothing, and then half of it was 2 guys trying to fake enthusiasm without any content to base it on. Yeah, no, those conversations were stilted at best. I was just, I don't need to buy more armies. No, I know what you mean. Presentation was good if you like watching a bunch of white male 30-somethings talking bollocks. That's, I mean, you know, you're not wrong. Let's see here. Multiple copies of 2nd edition, 40K rulebook and codices, and for 3rd I can play any version of my leisure. So yeah, that's it. Is that a radiological meter in the upper left? The yellow thing? Whoops, wrong side. That thing, that is a Geiger counter, which probably is the same thing, I think, yes. Good to hear it was toast and not your computer. Oh yeah, no, it didn't smell like when electronics get hot. It smelled like, literally it smelled like toast or something baking kind of, yes. Well, thank you, Uncle Adam, because your videos encourage me to grow up as an artist, and I love it with all my heart. Accept my own way and temper process. You're great. I appreciate that. That's very nice of you to say. I thank you. I love burnt toast. Yeah, I mean, brown toast, yes. Burnt, like black toast, then I'm not so interesting. Do you have a recommendation for good brushes? My girlfriend wants to get into the hobby. I would tell you to start with synthetic brushes. I really would. Personally, I'm not a natural hair brush guy, but especially if you're first getting started, I would start with some decent, find yourself some synthetic brushes like golden Taclon, nylon, whatever. They can work out really, really well. Like Sam won another Golden Demon this year, and he generally paints with very cheap synthetic brushes the first like 80% of the pieces that he does, and then he gets into the natural hair fancy shenanigans when he gets into the the last 20% or whatever. All the ammo by Mig Lucky varnishes are great through the airbrush, no thinning required. Good to know. Good to know. You can get better or faster, but can you get harder or stronger? I don't know if you can do that with your painting. I don't know. Just got a chocolate 3D printer. It's slow, low resolution, but I think it will make very good victory point tokens. Any suggestions on other things to print? I didn't even know they made chocolate. I mean, I guess it makes sense, but I didn't know they made chocolate 3D printers. That's neat. Let's see here. From East Asia, I have to say I enjoy your channel and content for so long. Well, that's very nice of you to say, Lee. I appreciate it. Some tasks can be tedious. The results are worth the effort. Yeah. I'd like to paint the Basilica Redemptor Dreadnought soon. It'll be my first in 5 years. Nice. Why are you going to Denmark in 2 weeks? And also, hello from Denmark. Hey, how's it going? So I'm going to Denmark. All of us in the factory team, the Army Painter factory team. So it's me, Sam, Eric, and Phil. We're all going to Denmark in a couple of weeks, basically, for like 5 days. I think we're going to be there. And we will, I think, fly into Copenhagen, and then we're going to Skarborg, I think is the name of the place, something like that. But that's where Army Painter is based out of. So we'll be there, and we're going to, I think we're going to film some like marketing stuff, and things like that for social media and for other jazz. We're going to probably learn some things. We're going to take a tour of the factory, like all that kind of stuff. And I think we're going to have a bunch of discussions about hopefully like things that I would like to see. Like new products. I would love to have some input on like some concepts for new products. I would love to learn here's what I think that Army Painter needs to have. I think they need to have a really wide, nice line of like texture stuff to put on bases. You know what I mean? Like not just like they already got like those little battlefield rock things that are made of like cork. I use those all the time. Those things are probably some of my favorite stuff that they make besides the paints. But what I'm talking about is like, it's like a textured paint. You know what I mean? Like that's what I want them to start making. I want to make them a bunch of really, really good textured paints that are a lot of different scale as far as grit is concerned. I honestly don't care about the color. Personally, I'm the type of guy who paints on the texture before I even prime the miniature, and then I paint over it and all that kind of stuff. But I know that like GW is a big fan of like, nope, this is what you're going to do at the very end. I would rather actually do it at the beginning, but whatever. Either way, I'd like to see that kind of stuff. So yeah. Did you visit the Badger Games booth? If so, what did you think of the minis competition they were having? I did visit the Badger Games booth. I did not check out the miniatures painting competition. I didn't see that, but I did get to chat with them for a bit. I got made fun of for ages for mispronouncing Mackinac or Mackinac. I don't know. When I said it out loud in front of someone for the first time, I get that. I think it is Mackinac, isn't it? I don't know. I've never been there. Still using the 5th and 6th edition codex for myself and the recent Kill Team rules. Gotcha. Those are Welsh, I bet. It's where Fozzie Bear is from. Waka Waka Waka. There you go. See? Narrative play is awesome, fun. Enjoyed it at any level you like. Sure. Just popping in to say thanks for the videos. Your dulcet tones chill me out, and the maturity you bring is fantastic. Well, I appreciate that, Grumpage. I do. Morning from Washington State. Painting some dwarf minis I bought 20 years ago. As I build my army for the old world, most excitement I had for the hobby in ages. Nice. Maturity is a rare quality amongst GW fans online. Yeah. In my community, people are almost 40K only. They rarely ever play other GW games, so many newcomers leave both money and rule creep. May have some suggestion. I don't know. Like the trick, the thing that I always tell people if they want to try to get other games played or a game that they like, is I first tell them to start with a skirmish game, because what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to actually build and paint 2 forces. So if it's a big, huge army game, that's not fun, or sometimes even feasible. Just carrying that stuff is a pain in the butt. But if it's a skirmish game that you like and it's got 5 to 10 models per side or whatever, you can generally pretty easily build and paint 2 forces. And then the idea is that you get a friend and you try to look, you pick one of these forces, I'll take the other one, I'll teach you how to play, we'll do it. And then maybe that person's like, yeah, that's cool, but I still want to just play a bunch of Space Marines over here. Okay, cool. Knock yourself out. But eventually you might get somebody. And then once you get like a couple of people, then sometimes you get a little bit of momentum. And then other people are like, well, those guys are all playing that game over there. And, if it was just me and one person, I don't know. But there's like 3 of them now. And so I could become a 4th if I decide to play that game. And I'm kind of tired of this GW game or this whatever game it might be. It doesn't have to be GW. But whatever the big game is that they're playing in the local area, they may not want to be playing that. And they might be instead want to be playing this. And so you get a little bit of momentum as you go along, hopefully. Malort board was popular, but the shots they were giving out were stealing the show. Oh, yeah. I remember seeing that, yeah. I'm not a fan of Malort. I think I had it once. I just finished building my first 2 armies of Age of Sigmar, and now I've got to relearn it. Still excited to see what's to come, having some Warcry. I mean, this summer, there'll be a new edition coming out probably this summer. I'm assuming this summer. Maybe it's this fall, but I think they've said, I don't remember if they've said this summer or not. I'm guessing on the summer thing. Let's just say that. But yeah, they have definitely announced, back during AdeptiCon, which if I scroll way back, come on, load, thank you. So, AdeptiCon preview, here you go. Oh, wow, did you guys hear about Abraxia? See, we never saw this. We never saw this picture right here. Never showed it to us when we were watching the preview. It sucked. Like, I had barely any idea that she was on a big lizard. Like, that's pretty cool. Like, that's what I want. They told us about her 3 times. They were like, oh, she has this spear that, what's his name gave to her, but he doesn't trust her, and the spear can mutate people. And one time she thought about something else, and then she grew horns, so she got to be careful. They told us that 3 times during the video, and they would show pictures and stuff like that, but they would always be like super close up and like rotating and doing stuff. And then there would be like, a smoke machine and lights and all that kind of stuff. I just want to see this picture. Like, why didn't they just show us this picture? But no, they didn't. So anyway, yeah, it was more stuff like this, but way closer in video, rotating, the whole thing. It was not great. But yeah, they've got a lot of talking white guys. So yeah, I guess the idea now is if you're there, you don't get to see the actual pictures, but when you come here and then, click on it later or whatever, then you do. But they're talking about how, let's see here, we're reforged for an incredible new edition. So why is this in different languages? Is there a download? No? No, it just changes the language. Weird. All right, well, that's cool. So story so far, I couldn't care less. The game, there we go. Huge shift in narrative is accompanied by changes to the game. The rules for Warhammer Age of Sigmar have gradually introduced new layers of complexity over the past 9 years. Yes, they have. Always building on a robust framework, but perhaps not able to take stock and reassess the experience as a whole. Interesting. So for this edition, the team wanted to make sure they got everything right, which means they're streamlining stuff. And reforged for the first time since the first edition of the game, released way back in 2015. Focus has been on streamlining, accessibility, modularity, but not at the expense of depth. To ensure that the epic fantasy battles of your imagination can be recreated on the tabletop. Still, the Age of Sigmar that you know and love, with all the friction taken out cleanly and smartly. Well, that'll be fun. What does this mean for my army? Rebuilding the core rules means that quite a lot has changed, and that every faction in the new edition has this entire set of war scrolls and army rules updated and reworked, which means your old books are useless. Throw them in the garbage. So that's fun. And then this is almost exactly the same graphic that they had when they launched 40K last year. They had the graphic with all the different combat patrols in it, and this is the same thing now. So this is all of the different Spearhead. So yeah, as well as updates to match play and Path to Glory, the new edition of Warhammer Age of Sigmar is accompanied by Spearhead, a fresh game mode that plays in an hour or less using the contents of each faction's Spearhead and Vanguard boxes. And again, I think the Vanguard boxes are going to be going away and getting new boxes, like not the insides, but the box itself. And instead of saying Vanguard, it'll say Spearhead, but either way. It's a fun and exquisitely balanced version of Warhammer Age of Sigmar, a brilliant way to introduce the game to beginners, but it's not just new players. It really takes advantage of the new modular core rules, tactical spin, design studio. Absolutely love it. It's become one of the most popular games to play on lunch hours during and after work around the office. So again, seems short unless they have really long lunches over there, which I guess is possible. Despite its small scale, Spearhead is a deep and robust game, even with enough depth and twists to provide endless replayability. That word twists is interesting, because I like the twists that they give you in like Warcry. So I wonder if they'll have like twist cards, kind of like that. That'd be cool. We'll have more to say on this in the near future, sure. So, yeah, and then it looks like the new box that launches will have those angry Stormcast Eternals, the Ruination Chamber, I think that's what they're called, and the Skaven. So hopefully new Skaven models. God forbid that they give us the same old Skaven models in the box. That is going to cause people to riot. But so yeah, like I'm interested because I liked Age of Sigmar. I did not like 3rd edition Age of Sigmar. So the fact that they're trying to streamline it a bit more, and the fact that there is now a combat patrol equivalent within Age of Sigmar, Spearhead, is cool. So yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what goes on. I'm very interested in that because I do like a lot of the models in Age of Sigmar, specifically Cities of Sigmar, which I've already started building that box, which is fine. But there's a couple others there too. Like, I don't know that I would go with what I've been looking at. Let's see here. How do I get to Warhammers? Just stupid. There we go. Here, new link. Go over here. Okay. Spearhead. Let's see if we can just find a bunch. Okay, so there's only 3 of them currently. There's the Stormcast Eternals with the big lady with the wings. There's the Flesh Eater Courts. You know, this Flesh Eater Courts box is kind of nice. Like, I've never been a fan of Flesh Eater Courts, but these are all new models. So, like, that guy's just kind of cool. But yeah. So I could maybe see myself doing something with that. I don't know. But otherwise, if we type in Vanguard, then we get Bone Reapers, Blades of Corn, Hedonites of Slaanesh, Beasts of Chaos, Slaves to Darkness. This is a box I could potentially see being interested in. I love the new Slaves to Darkness. I actually painted a bunch of them for Warcry. So it'd be fun to do a different paint scheme, but I like these guys that they're like much more posed. They're not like the old Slaves of Darkness warriors, which are just like this all the time, because they used to be in rank and flank. I just got a little schmutz on my screen there. Sorry. Yeah, that Sylvaneth one is weird. I'm not going to lie. You got a big tree in there. Yeah, that is weird. Ogar Maw Tribes? No. Lumineth Realm Lords? No. How did this Kill Team Phobos Strike Team end up in there? That's weird. The Skaven one's kind of cool. I wonder if they will make a new Skaven one, though, once the new Skaven models drop. That's a possibility, I suppose. Deepkin? No. There's more space. Oh, okay, well, that one says Vanguard in it, so that makes sense at least. Skatari? No. Orc Warclans? Vanguard Seraphon? I mean, you get a big lizard. Big lizards are cool. Oh, yeah, Soulblight Gravelords. Like I said, I would be interested in this one, except I hate this guy. Just the worst. Even if I got rid of his stupid head and gave him a better head, that shield is terrible. Like, everything about him, I just don't like. I just don't like it. And it's also sold out online, so, you know, what a surprise. So I could swap that guy out if I bought that box with, let's see if these are going to show up here. Crimson Court. So this guy or the lady would both be pretty cool replacements for that vampire lord. This big here guy with the thing, he's cool, but I don't know if he would. This guy definitely not. But at least these two and maybe this guy, each one of those would be a kind of a cool vampire lord replacement. I don't think that'd be a bad thing. Could you get a louder truck? So yeah, that's something to think about as well, I suppose. But I could also 3D print something and find something neat that way. So I don't know. That's that then. Back here. Okay, where are we at time-wise? Cool. All right. Rosemont is near O'Hare. Downtown Convention Center is McCormick. Oh yeah, gotcha. It's in the suburb. That's right. Why would a vampire use a skateboard? That's a good question. How do you recommend the different army painter lines? Air versus speed versus fanatic? They're all similar in quality, or is fanatic the new hotness? Well, the airbrush paints are good for using in your airbrush. The fanatic paints are generally good for, they're like normal layer paints for like painting and like doing normal, opaque stuff. And then the speed paints are like contrast paints, if you're familiar with that. It's getting bright again. There. And yeah, so they're all of them are different. I would not say that one replaces the other. They're like the three pillars of like what's going on in the way that you may paint. Like I have a tendency to start with airbrush very frequently, and then I have a tendency to go in and do a lot of speed paint, and then when I need to pick out details, then I end up using fanatics, which are just regular opaques. So for edge highlighting, for dry brushing, things like that, those things, or if I've got, like I'm not a huge blender, so for speed painting, I use a lot of speed paints, and I use the airbrush, like a zenithal, to make my blends ahead of time, then cover them with transparent paints, and then pick up the details. But if you're a person who loves to wet blend and do all that kind of stuff, the fanatic paints make a ton of sense for that because they thin really well and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's not that any of them is the new hotness. Fanatic paints replace the old war paints that they've had for 15, 16 years, which were just opaque paints, right? So that's what they've been replaced. Those are phased out, and the fanatics have changed. But the fanatics don't replace the airbrush paints or the speed paints. They're all three different types of paints. So, let's see here. Been using the speed paints and love them. Absolutely. Wisconsin, I could see working actually. Yeah. Oh, for moving, like Milwaukee? Yeah, I mean, like I said, Gen Con got up to 16, 18,000 before they had to move. So, and that was 20 years ago. There probably are more hotels. I don't know. Again, like I don't know about that building, like if they've made any updates to it. I assume they have. Milwaukee would be a great choice. Plus, it's a walkable city with great eats. That's the one downside, I think, to where it is now, too, is that, like, if you want to go to a restaurant that's not in the building, you're going to need to take a drive generally. I mean, you can walk it. You can walk anything, if you believe in yourself. But if it's snowing or raining and stuff like that or whatever, or if you just aren't interested in walking a couple of miles to get to a restaurant, then yeah, it does generally take something, an Uber drive or whatever, People do all kinds of crazy things with speed paints. I just can't get them to work for me. I'm not really a painter, though. I think speed paints for me are generally focused on, like, speed paints are not something that I would really use to try to win a Golden Demon or some other big like award like that, for sure. But for getting stuff on tabletop, as long as the thing that I find where speed paints contrasts that type of paint don't work well is if you just take your model, prime it white, and then start slopping that stuff on there. I always like to do that white to black zenithal. Some people call it slap chop. When they do slap chop, it's usually you're making a white to black zenithal, but you're doing it with dry brushing. You're painting the thing black, primer or whatever, and then you're dry brushing it white and then starting to put those transparent colors over the top of it. I'm usually doing it with an airbrush instead, but it's the same kind of technique. But it's not something that you're like these things that you see here, right? Like these are not particularly doable with there you go. Oh, is he going to spin? I don't want him to spin. Okay, whatever. This website. Anyway, yeah, I don't, this is not something that would be very super easy to do with, like, this exact paint job would not be easy to do with speed paints. But I could do something near it relatively quickly. You know what I mean? Um, but like all the very, like the highlights and the blends and all that kind of stuff, which you could see if this website allowed you to zoom in on stuff. That'd be super cool, wouldn't it? Yeah. Um, yeah, there's definitely things that you can do with speed paints, and I do it quite a bit, frankly. That's my main kind of like jam as far as paints concerned these days. Do you have any tips for doing searches on my mini factory? I've been checking out recently, and I've struggled with sorting through it, especially when looking for modular STLs. I don't think I have any good tips on that. No, honestly. I did have a good experience putting speed paints for the airbrush. I do that all the time for like shading things and stuff like that because it's transparent. So it's, even if you spray it on a little too hard, it's not going to cover the original paint completely, you know. Howdy from Rowdy St. Paul. How you doing? O'Hare is cheaper to fly into. Most flights into Milwaukee fly into O'Hare. It's just actually faster to fly into O'Hare and get a rental there and then drive up to Milwaukee, in my experience. I guess I haven't had that problem. The Midwest Express Center is now called the Baird Center. Well, Jay, you would know because you live there. Good. It's definitely large enough. It has multiple hotels connected, and this coming weekend is Midwest Gaming Classic, which gets 20,000. Oh yeah, I mean, so then yeah, you would think that the space would be fine then for sure. I always forget about the Midwest Gaming Classic. I always want to go, but I never do. But yeah, no, for sure. So yeah, I mean, the Baird Center. I don't know what Baird is. Is that a person's name or is that a company? Oh. Anyway, yeah. Multiple there's like skywalks. It must be skywalks because I don't remember there ever being like a hotel, like, you know, like the at Adepticon the hotel is connected in that it's the same building, but I don't think that that's the case. I don't remember that being the case, but maybe like via skywalks and stuff. Then you don't have to walk in the rain or the snow, I suppose, because if they do it in the same time of year as they do it now, you know, you could definitely have some snow in Milwaukee for sure. Milwaukee makes sense. They'll have some tax stuff for running in another state. Just hoping not Rosemont. Parking this year was bad, but not $10 to $15 a day bad. Oh, yeah, no, that's a good point. Adepticon is already on the other end of the state for me and about a 5-hour drive. You don't need to drive further or have to fly. Sure. Has anyone been to KatsuCon outside of DC? The Gaylord at National Harbor is huge, but I don't know how the size of the space compares to what's out there. I've never been there, no. Whoops. Everything moved. Let's see here. Okay, there we go. Caught back up again. How big is board gaming at Gen Con? I would say probably first or second place. I mean, as far as the vendor hall is concerned, I would say it's probably first place. Just tell them you're cosplaying as a paying customer. What's your policy for people selling zines at TMX? I mean, if you're like a vendor, you can be a vendor and get a vendor table, which includes 2 badges or whatever, you know what I mean? It's like $40. So you could become a vendor and sell zines at TMX. There's a email address you can reach out on the website. Someone just reached out recently from, where did it go? Over here. It's stuck. I've talked about Blackout a little bit. So this is the rule book for Blackout, that game that I showed it on Friday. I showed you the 2 like mechs, you know, that which are called dusters for Blackout. This is the rule book for the game. Like it's just a little tiny spiral bound, you know, like it's not like it's like super crazy tiny text. There's like a lot, but it's a nice succinct little game, which is cool. And then there's information in here about dusters and the duster arcs and things like that. The dusters are the bigger robots and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, they reached out and are interested in talking about either running events or doing some vending or potentially both. So I replied to their email last night. So that's cool. Adepticon and GaryCon in Lake Geneva happen in the same weekend. So does PAX East too, which is a real bummer. Bombshell Minis has some cute metal and resin minis. How early should you get Nova stuff set, hotels and flights? As far as flights are concerned, I don't know. I generally sign up for a flight 2 to 3 months out, usually. Um, Hotels, I don't know when the hotels, I think the hotels went live. The hotel block may have already gone live if you want to stay in the building. That might have already gone. Are there any tabletop skirmish rule sets designed for classic GI Joe figures of 3.5 or 3.75 inches? I don't think so. Not that I've heard of. Gonna be playing New Age of Sigmar. I'm gonna try out Spearhead. I've already started building the Cities of Sigmar Spearhead, so I'm interested in that for sure. I don't know that it'll go any bigger because I'm just not interested in big army games, but there's no such thing as too much bulgogi. I mean, if you try to eat it all in one setting, it is, but bulgogi reheats pretty well. Have you ever considered lending your not inconsequential skills to Adepticon spray team? I don't think I know what that is. Oh, wait, is that when they like airbrush terrain and stuff like that? I haven't, no. Local bulgogi, gonna have to find that place. It's a lot closer to the old TMX location than it is to the new TMX location, but still not that far, honestly. It's, you know, the city's not that big, but yeah, it was like literally almost across the street from the old location where we were at the college. Now it's probably a mile and a half away tops. Let's see. Someone's painting Thousand Suns. Good luck, friend. The trim is a good time. It's something for sure. It's great running into you at AdeptiCon, and cool you stopped to allow a selfie with me. I'm always happy to do selfies. Absolutely. Unless I have a whole bunch of food in my mouth, then let me try to swallow it first. I live in Ohio. What is bulgogi? Best I can do here is amazing blow your hair back steak. Bulgogi is a Korean like rice dish that's got like, I like to get it with pork belly. I like to get it medium. I like to get it with purple sticky rice, but it's I don't know, there's a lot of stuff in there. It's pretty good though. My wife gets it with tofu. It'd be great if GW worried about making a great game and didn't focus on how to maximize profits at the expense of the game. I mean, that's not a thing that they're going to do. They're always going to look at profits first because they have shareholders. It's the biggest mistake that companies make, I think, is when they get big enough and they decide to start doing shareholders. But what are you going to do? I don't know. Warcry is marinated in a delicious sauce. I mean, it could be, but that would be sticky. When is Fanatics coming out? The big honkin' box and the mega set are available now. The racks that you will see in stores where you can buy individual bottles should drop 20 days from tomorrow. I think it's like the 20th or something like that. I think it's April 20th. So yeah. All right. Well, there you go. I'm way behind, and I apologize. FEC model is also a bit skateboardy. Yeah, there's one of those. It's kind of like that too. All right. So anyway, thank you very much, everybody, for coming by. I appreciate it. I hope that you folks have a good rest of your day. If you're into the whole Easter thing, I hope you do some of that. If you're not, I hope you do whatever you want. And if you get tomorrow off, because you live in an area where you get the day off, that's pretty cool. But yeah, so let's see. Next video that I do on Friday will not be in the studio. It will probably be here in the sunroom because I won't be able to get into the studio while they're replacing the windows. Well, I take that back. They're taking the windows out, boarding it up, and then some months in the future, they will put the windows back. So I'll be able to get back into the studio probably next week, not this week, upcoming. But then the windows will be boarded up, which hopefully the curtains will cover. And if they don't, it'll just look weird. So, you know, whatever. But yeah, so that's going on. So yeah, we'll see you folks soon. I'll be streaming tomorrow night, Monday night on Twitch at 7 p.m. Central. If you're interested, come on by Twitch and check it out. And yeah, everybody have yourselves a good rest of your weekend, unless it's already Monday where you live or whatever. Then have yourselves a good Monday. And we'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.